Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to stage an impossible meeting, a conversation between two absolute titans of industry who, a century apart, completely reshaped our world, Henry Ford and Elon Musk.
So let's just dive right in. Let's imagine a dialogue based on their real-life philosophies, their struggles, and their just monumental ambitions. Seriously, what would the guy who put the world on wheels say to the guy who wants to put us on Mars?
All right, so the first thing they'd connect on, it's undeniable. Both of these men completely changed how we get around. They spearheaded a fundamental shift in transportation. That's where the conversation has to start, right? On that common ground of just radical disruption.
You can just picture it, can't you? Ford would be talking about a world run by horses, the noise, the smell, the snail's pace of it all. And Musk would just be nodding along, totally getting it, because he faced the exact same kind of challenge, taking on the 100-year-old dominance of the gasoline engine. They both just looked at the world and thought, you know what? There's a much, much better way to do this.
But here's the thing. Their talk wouldn't just be a victory lap. Oh no. It would get real fast. It would turn into this shared story of incredible hardship, and that's where the real connection, that mutual respect, would be forged, right there, in the fire, in the crucible of creation.
Just imagine them swapping stories. You'd have Ford remembering everyone telling him that a car for the average person was just a total fantasy, and then you'd have Musk hearing over and over that reusable rockets were impossible, that they defied physics, that electric cars were just a tiny niche market that was absolutely doomed to fail. You can almost feel the shared sense of vindication in that conversation, right? Just two guys who proved a world of skeptics wrong.
And you know what they'd really understand about each other? The constant, terrifying threat of going broke. They'd talk about scraping together every single penny, staring down payrolls they knew they couldn't meet, and pouring their entire personal fortunes into these massive ventures that were always just a few weeks away from totally collapsing. This wasn't just some business for them. It was an all-or-nothing bet on the future.
And believe me, that threat was not abstract at all. Ford would probably lean in and say something like, listen, before Ford Motor Company, there was the Detroit Automobile Company, and before that, the Henry Ford Company. And guess what? They both failed. They went bust. It's such a powerful reminder that his legendary success was literally built on the ashes of his past failures. That's a lesson Musk, who stared bankruptcy in the face with both Tesla and SpaceX, would know deep in his bones.
And this is where you can just picture them locking eyes and finding this deep personal respect. Ford might look at Musk and say, to take on the entire auto industry and the oil industry at the same time, that takes a kind of nerve I can really respect. And Musk would probably just fire back, but Mr. Ford, you created the industry I'm trying to change. You built the modern world from the ground up. It's just this incredible imagined exchange of mutual encouragement.
Okay, so once they've bonded over the struggle, where does the conversation go? Well, it would naturally shift to how. How do they actually build these world-changing companies? Because, let's be real, their management philosophies were just as revolutionary as their products.
So Ford would start by laying out his blueprint. And it wasn't just a system for building cars, it was for building a whole new society. The assembly line, the vertical integration, that wasn't just about being efficient. It was about controlling every single variable to drive the cost down, down, down. And that famous $5 day, that wasn't just him being a nice guy. It was a stroke of absolute economic genius. He turned his own workers into his customers. He literally created the middle class that would buy his cars.
And then Musk would jump in with his method, first principles thinking. He'd probably say something like, look, forget how it's always been done. What do the laws of physics say is actually possible? So instead of asking, how can we make existing rockets a little cheaper, he asked, what are rockets made of? Aluminum alloys? Titanium? Okay, what's the spot price for those metals on the market? And the answer was insane. The raw materials cost only about 2% of the rocket's final price. That single insight, that he could build everything from scratch for a tiny fraction of the cost, that's the core of everything he does at SpaceX and Tesla.
So after they've talked about conquering the roads of Earth, you know where the conversation has to go. It would inevitably turn to the future. With the foundation of mass mobility already built, Musk would make the case that it's time to look up to the next great frontier.
And this is where Musk would probably sketch out his grand strategy on a napkin. He'd explain that Tesla isn't just a car company. It's his vehicle for transitioning the entire world to sustainable energy. SpaceX isn't just about cool rockets. It's literally a life insurance policy for the human species. And Optimus, the robot? That's not just a gadget. It's about completely redefining the nature of work itself. See, they're all just pieces of one single, incredibly audacious puzzle for our future.
And this brings us to what might be the heart of their whole conversation. Musk would frame his ambition not as something that replaces Ford's legacy, but as the next logical step. He'd say something like, "Mr. Ford, you put humanity on wheels. I hope to put us on Mars." He sees himself as continuing the very same journey that Ford started, a journey of expanding what's possible for human beings.
And true to form, Musk would break this massive, seemingly impossible goal down into just an engineering problem. He wouldn't talk about it like some far-off dream. No, he'd talk about it as a series of logical, achievable steps. It's kind of like how Ford broke down building a car into simple, repeatable tasks on the assembly line. Musk is doing the same thing, but for interplanetary colonization.
So here's the big takeaway. Despite the century that separates them, their core mission is basically identical. Both Ford and Musk, in their own times, dedicated their lives to pushing humanity way beyond the boundaries of what anyone thought was possible. They fundamentally changed our relationship with distance and with our own destiny.
And that leaves us with one final thought. This whole imagined conversation is a powerful reminder that history isn't something that just happens to us. It's built. It's built by people who see a different future and have the, frankly, insane tenacity to make it real. So the question is, what's next? What's the impossible idea today that will define the world of tomorrow?